This is the Coach's Wife Life podcast. I'm Kristen Eargle, your host, a former TV sports reporter and fellow college football coach's wife. I'll go one-on-one with the strong women who are the backbone of college athletics and athletics of all levels. And now, Coach's Wife Life.
This podcast is brought to you by Ruler of Hope. Ruler of Hope is a nonprofit that supports medically fragile children. If you'd like to make a tax-deductible donation, you can use Venmo at Ruler-Hope or online at rulerofhope.org.
Hey there, I'm Kristen Eargle, and we have an exciting podcast ahead. But first, I want to talk about something we all know way too much about: moving. Just the thought of that can bring an unsettling emotion. Well, I found a team that can take that load off your plate. It's D1 Relocation. This group can do it all. They can organize your move, coordinate with a moving company, and a trusted real estate agent. They can actually vet key household partners such as schools, insurance agents, physicians in the area. They can even help set up your Wi-Fi and water. It's incredible. So I've come to know this team, which is actually founded by a coach's wife. I think you should check it out. Whether you're looking to move now or in the future, it's d1relocation.com. Now on to our awesome podcast. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to have my first coach on the podcast. I don't know if you knew you were the first one.
I did
Auburn
not.
Co-Head Softball Coach Kate Malveaux. Coach, thanks for being on.
Thanks, and I'm going to start out War Eagle. War Eagle is like, you got to start with War Eagle. You got to end with War Eagle. Just know it's coming.
It's there. It's in the DNA now. Okay, so we'll talk all the details, but I have to know, what do you like on game day in 3 words?
Oof. I think if you ask our kids, probably you can use fiery or passionate interchangeably depending on the time. Incredibly competitive and direct. Those are probably me on game day.
All right. What's Coach Chris like on game day?
Like they call us fire and ice. So he's probably calm. He's very calculated. Like everything he does is very calculated and strategic. And I'm going to go with competitive too. That's our whole staff is that way. So you can't not be competitive and be on our staff.
An incredible career. I want you to walk me through some of it, but I doubt you're going to brag as much as I could. So this is your first year at Auburn. Prior to that, you guys came from Tennessee and racked up a ton of wins. And correct me if I'm wrong, a couple of regular season SEC titles, conference titles, a Women's College World Series. Some incredible success. Prior to that, Missouri, right?
Yep.
And Louisiana, Lafayette. What for you? Walk me through this coaching journey and this coaching journey that you share with your husband. Incredible. There's so many dynamics there that I'm excited to talk to you about. But what's been the biggest turning points in your career that's led you now to be the co-head coach at Auburn?
Well, I do think meeting Chris, I actually met Chris through coaching. And I think that set itself on a different trajectory. I wouldn't change any of it, but I also, I've gotten to experience some really, really cool things, and I've learned a lot by going on the journey with him. So I think us ending up finding each other is definitely set my coaching journey on a totally different trajectory because it was going a different way when we first met. I think we've been hired, fired, had kids, got married apart, got engaged apart. I know that's the backwards order. I should have said we got engaged and then married and then had kids because that's the order that we did it in. But we did all those things sometimes in different states. Again, we got fired and had to pivot, and then people took a chance on us. I've taken jobs that I was like, this is going to be the kiss of death and me getting out of coaching, and it wasn't. But our lives, I've worn every hat you can probably as a softball coach or in a softball program. I've been a stay-at-home mom for a few years, and I've still been able to get back in and make it. And so I'm just super fortunate to have all those lead us here.
Okay, I have to pause and go, you became a stay-at-home mom and got to go back into that. When you're a stay-at-home mom right there, do you think to yourself, all right, I'm making this decision for my family. What if I never get to do my passion again? Were those hard moments?
They were, and it was actually hard for me and Chris because Chris knows how driven I am. And so basically what had happened is we had gotten let go at a school that we were at. at a really weird time. Like we got let go in the fall, and that is definitely not hiring season. And so when the opportunity came up, when hiring season did come around, the opportunity was for Chris, and that was great. But like deep down, like I'm like, ooh, I was at the time, I think I was 8 months pregnant, and I'm like, but I'm competitive as all get out, and I'm like, okay, like this is great for him, but you have the what ifs, and when you step back and you looked at it, you're like, okay, for our family, this is what's best right now. For our family, I'm like, we're gonna have a 3-week-old baby, we're gonna move. We had a toddler at the time, we had a 2-year-old at the same time. And I think whenever I sat back and I thought about that, and I'm like, this is a really cool opportunity for Chris to go jump into it. It's a really cool opportunity for Chris to get his first taste of Power Five at the time life. It's like, well, I can't hold him back from that. Our family needs me right now. And I'm like, if it's meant to be, it's going to be meant to be. I'm just really fortunate that Chris still sees my drive and passion. And so we worked on different ways to kind of make that all happen, even while I was staying at home. And still I could have that competitive outlet, but it's like at different points in time in your life, you're gonna have to sacrifice work, or like there's certain things you don't sacrifice, and family's one of them, and your spouse isn't one of them either. So
I love it. Okay. How did you meet your husband?
yep. We met, I believe it, we did it, we met at work. So I, at the time, was coaching high school. I was teaching high school English. So I started out as a high school English teacher, and I was like, I want to get into this coaching gig. Let me see how it works. And so I stayed on staff as the volunteer coach, because I was like, well, I'm going to teach, but I'll help you out on the side. And so I volunteered, and he got hired on as a full-time coach. And so we ended up working together, I guess you could say. And then from there, just kind of, you're around somebody so often, you're like, you're kind of funny. And I'm like, and you're kind of smart. And I'm like, and you keep me on my toes. So, I mean, this isn't going to get boring. So let's see what happens.
Incredible stuff. Now, how many years have you been married?
We just had year 10 in December.
Wow. Very good.
Yes.
Very good. That's a big milestone. Okay. So I ask this to every single guest. What's the biggest adversity you have faced, and what did you rely on to get through those moments?
We've had a couple. I think the biggest one was, we talked about a little bit, is we got fired in the middle at the worst possible time that you could, because there were no jobs open, there were no opportunities, and we had a 2-year-old, a baby on the way. And in that time, I'll admit it, I learned to file for Medicaid. I learned to file for all these things that I'm like, man, we don't know what we're gonna do. And as an assistant coach at a lower level, you're not making a ton of money. We were fairly newly married. We weren't incredibly established. At the moment, we didn't know what we were going to do, but we just looked at each other and we're like, whatever it takes to figure it out, we will figure it out. And we were super fortunate. I think what's cool about athletics is there's always community tied to it. Like, whether it's your fan base or the people that you're on staff with or the athletic department, it doesn't matter. Like, there is a community that comes along with being part of athletics. And we were super fortunate that we had a really, really great community when we were in Louisiana, that kind of got us through it. And then we just looked at each other at one point in time, and it was like, we'll do whatever it takes to stay in coaching until hiring season comes. So at the time, Chris teaches hitting, and at the time I was kind of working on pitching. And so he ended up leaving and spent a spring in Kansas at the University of Kansas teaching pitching. And then I went to a Division II school in Illinois where my family lives, and I taught hitting. So it was kind of fun that we got to do the opposite of what the other person was working on at the time, but we lived apart for 5 months. And so he didn't get to see our son Gabe during that time period. And I did, but I was balancing the toddler life, the ups and downs that come with being pregnant, and then trying to navigate this new situation that I didn't know anything about. So it was very interesting, but it did lead us to where we got to, and we couldn't have done it without family and the community that we had.
I mean, look at that now. People from the outside, they have no idea about these stories. Like, oh, they're at Auburn. The sacrifices you made and the toughest moments where you're like financially, you're strapped, you don't have your support system, your husband, and he's not able to see the kids. The amount of sacrifices you've made is just unbelievable. I'm sure it makes you have such a thankful heart for what you have now.
Oh, 100%. And we that's why if somebody asks for mentorship, or like, we had great mentors, we're going to help in any way we can. We're trying to find ways to continue to give back, because we know it is the people that you're around that help get you back on your feet whenever you're struggling. And so we try and help anybody that that is experiencing those things, or if we can share our story, we try.
Okay, how do you stay grounded and steady when your life has to be chaos? I mean, like you're a college coach, a mom. How do you do this?
Most of the time I come into work looking like that. Like, I don't know if I don't know if I'm totally grounded. I'll admit it. I think I did a really good job of finding, there's never balance. I don't care what anybody says. There's never balance. Even though you try to find it. And then I think we did a really good job of that at Tennessee. We kind of hit our groove. And then this came to be, and I'll admit it, I don't think I've done a great job of doing it just yet. But I'll admit it, like the ways that I'm like, whenever things are out of, it's always read the Bible. Read the Bible every morning, every night, and that's my recenter. I try to read something, but I'll admit it, being around our kids actually keeps me more grounded than anything. Because when you're coaching other people's kids, there's things that you're like, oh, I can't believe this happened, or I can't believe they did that. And then I go home and I'm like, there's our sweet little kids. And I'm like, they're doing the same things. And I'm like, they are still somebody else's kids. And I'm like, and I love them just like they're our own. So it's kind of nice to be like, okay, like all of this, it's for a purpose. And it's because you love it and you love them. And when you look at your own kids, you are reminded of that at the same time.
Oh, that's beautiful. So, can you share a memorable moment, either a challenge or a triumph that stands out coaching alongside your spouse? Maybe a high pressure situation, maybe it's the postseason runs that you've had. What stands out to you?
The beauty of it is on all the big things, Chris and I align. Like that's why this works. Is like what he is, I'm not, and what I am, he's not. But I think there are some little things, especially as we've gotten into this head coaching journey, that we'll disagree on. And so it's like, I think the biggest challenge for us is we've always thought we communicated well. We've had to communicate even better and a little different, which has been a really, really fun challenge, to be honest with you. And it's actually, it's been really good for our marriage, to be honest with you. I think the best moments are like when, like we went to a World Series at Tennessee, and getting to share that with him was really, really cool. But the people in the office always, Chris and I actually share an office. You want to talk about something that's really hard is we share an office.
You share an office. Why do you share an office?
Well, just kind of the way that the setup is, and
Okay.
a lot of the times the other part of it is like you're co-head coaches, so he's never gonna have a conversation I don't know about, and I'm never gonna have a conversation he doesn't know about. So a lot of times we're gonna be in those conversations together anyways. So we're like, we'll share an office, but the our other two assistants will like be like, we call it passionate debating about a recruit or like something, or how practice should be run, whatever it is. And like I said, I get pretty fiery pretty fast, and I'm like, I'm not mad. And he's like, you look mad. I'm like, I'm not mad. But they're like, mom and dad are fighting. I said, we are not fighting. Like, it is just, that part has been interesting, is like sharing that space, to be honest with you.
Oh my goodness, this is incredible tidbit here. Okay, so do you have, like, for me and my husband, he is the organized one. I mean, everything is perfect. Here, I'm like, wait a minute, if I panned it over here, there might be some laundry right over here on this couch. I mean, for your office, are you similar in that aspect?
Oh, 100%. And it drives me. So Chris is very much so more like you. And I am like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Just because I'm like, in order to keep up with all of it, that's how I have to operate. So I try to not nag at the office about that stuff, because I'm like, listen, like technically it would be his own space and it would be okay. So my side is a little bit neater. His is a little bit more chaotic, but he knows where everything is. And if I touch it, so help me God, he knows. So, but at home, I will say, I need your shoes to go somewhere else.
I mean, so basically navigating this relationship, I mean, it's all day, every day for you. Is there clear lines between home and work, or you just kind of flow between the two?
We have clear lines when it comes to the kids. Like we have clear lines when it comes to the kids, because like when we get to the kids, it's like we want to spend as much time with them, and like softball runs so much of our life in general. And there's pros and cons that come with that. I think the older our kids have gotten, the more cool that they think it is. And so, but like we'll always go home, and no matter what, like you're having dinner together, no matter what. And there can't be softball talk at the table without one of the kids saying, we don't do that here. We're playing categories, and the category is this. So how are you contributing? And I'm like, you talk about how they keep us grounded. They definitely keep us on it when it comes to that. Our kids travel with us a lot. So that definitely, like I said, they go in and out of it to say we ever totally shut it off, it's around the kids. Outside of that, I think the cool thing about Chris and I is we're both super competitive. And I think any relationship you want to share things with your spouse, I'm just super fortunate that I get to share. Like, he understands every bit of what I'm talking about. I know what he's chasing and what his goals are. And so it makes those conversations really, really cool. Um, Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I had a birthday. I went and got a massage. I'm like, I'm going. Like, I'm leaving. I need my own time. He'll do the same thing. He'll be like, he doesn't do it very often, but he'll be like, I'm gonna go hit a round of balls at the golf course. And I'm like, cool, great. That probably has happened twice a year. But like, we try to find our own outlets as we can at the same time. Um, but I think when you're passionate about what you do and you can share that with your significant other, that's really, really awesome. Um, we don't really go on many dates, to be honest with you. We've gone on a couple since we've been here at Auburn. But we also understand that this is a period of life where our kids are little and they're going to leave at some point in time. And so we're soaking that up with them, and then and getting to share. There's times that like we'll even go through the day, like, and I'll have to ask him, I'm like, what'd you do today? Like, how was it? We'll share an office and we'll go to practice, but we'll be totally separate because I run our defense. Like some of the bigger picture stuff, and he runs the offense and some of the bigger picture stuff. So I'll have to ask him, I'll be like, what'd you do today? And how'd that go? And so there is still some like element of surprise and things to talk about. But it's still really cool.
In terms of the specifics of the game, you know, not everybody sees eye to eye on specific recruits. You talked about it. This person can be a player for us. This can't. Who makes the final call, or you just kind of agree to just merge that? I mean, how's that work?
There's a lot of discussion that happens, which I appreciate a ton. I think that's been the coolest thing of being a wife and coaching. So I'm just going to shamelessly plug. I got to work with two really great husband-wife duos. One was at the University of Louisiana Lafayette and Mike and Steph Lotief, and then one most recently with Karen and Ralph Weekly at Tennessee. And I think the cool thing is like when Karen called me to hire me, she's just like, I'm not hiring you because you're Chris's wife. I'm hiring you because you are a capable coach who happens to be his wife. But I get it, and I want you to be you. And I see what you bring to the table. I think what's really cool is Chris sees that too. I mean, obviously this wouldn't work if he didn't, but he respects my opinion, and he's more seasoned than I am. But it is a really cool, it's cool to see him be like, it's not just my way. And I don't see it just as my way. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think I'm right a lot. And so that's why it gets passionate. But I think
I love you so much, by the way.
I'm trying really hard here. I'm not perfect. I'm not. But I think whenever it comes to what Chris does really well is he sees, like, I can go super fast and being like, this is the technical part, boom, 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 this is how we win. And he's like, okay, but here's the human element part. And I'm like, you're 100% right. And I'm like, I'll get going so fast sometimes that he is what grounds me. He can slow me down and be like, well, have you thought about this, this, and this? And then there are times where he's like, okay, well, we need to think about this, this, and this. And I'm like, homie, we just need to like make a decision. It's like what we're eating at the hotel. Like that's not, those are small fish to fry. So it's really cool. We make joint decisions, but at some point in time, one of us will just be like, this is not important, or this is incredibly important. We can't miss this. And so we usually go into it knowing what the pros and cons are. We'll hash that out, and then we'll come to a steady ground for the most part. But at the end of the day, if Chris says, I want to do something and here's why, I'm usually going to trust him on it.
I love this. When you were interviewing, did you both apply for the job, or how did that come about? How did that work?
It was a really interesting process. So again, Chris is, I will say, arguably the best hitting coach in the country when it comes to offenses, and he's proven that as he's built them. So when we were at Mizzou, he was the hitting coach. I was the director of ops. When we went to Tennessee, he was the hitting coach. I was the volunteer coach that moved into the assistant role when that kind of came to be. So when you talk about seasoned, he's also been in the game longer than I have. So I will say they definitely went after Chris, like, to start with. They went after Chris, and rightfully so. Like, he's earned every bit of that. They obviously knew that we were married and trying to figure out that dynamic because there are nepotism rules and all those kind of things. And I think the cool thing was, when people would talk, they're going to make a lot of calls, and they would ask Chris, or they would ask about Chris and blah, 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 blah. And they'd be like, well, what's that dynamic like with Kate? And they're like, you should be asking more questions about Kate. And I was super humbled by that. So they're like, what, if you have any doubts about X, Y, or Z, you should just talk to her, just have a conversation with her. So we jumped on a call very much so like this. And they're just like, Chris, we've talked to you once. We just really need to talk to Kate. And I was like, oh crap. Oh no. um, but then I'm like, okay, well, this is either going to go really, really well, or it's not going to go well at all. One of the two. I'm either going to be the kiss of death for him, or we're going to figure this out. Um, and it did. Like, I think the beautiful thing about it is they saw how well we complement each other, and what we both bring to the table. Chris is very capable on his own by all means, but I think whenever you really, especially here at Auburn, Auburn is big about family. Like, family is everything. And so I think they saw what we both brought, but then that family, like, we're living it. We're living the family atmosphere day in and day out. And that's ultimately what you want your girls to see is that you can be a mom that's successful at her career, but you can also, be a really good mom who shows up at the games, like, doesn't miss anything for the kids, does all these things. So I think that was really cool. The interview process was very interesting.
I bet. What do you think you're doing, both of you are doing as a family, that's creating success in your careers that people may not realize?
I think the communication piece, and everybody talks about that, but I mean, we have had to learn how to communicate even more efficiently. We've also redefined roles a little bit in our family. So, like, where I used to handle all the scheduling and this, that, and the other, because that's just my knack. Like, my knack is to go get everything in order and blah, 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 blah. Chris is like, if you're going to be really good at this, I'm going to take some of that off your plate. So he's helped a little bit more with the nannies and the scheduling. Like, he handled getting everybody signed up for baseball and all those things, which has been really, really great for our family, that he's jumped in so that I can still do what I need to do and be good at it. And then I think the other thing is we just let our kids be involved, and we don't sacrifice one of our kids' baseball games if we can avoid it. We're gonna miss so much as it is. We're not gonna miss when we can avoid that. And we want our players to see that too.
So you are able to somehow go to their games.
We do. We don't coach them. We coached them in the past, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know if we can do that. But yeah, we'll if we can get done with practice by 5 o'clock, so that we can be at a 5:30 game, we're going to. Or if we have a really great support system of people that help with babysitting and nannying and all those kind of things. We'll just be like, you drop them off. Can you stay and like watch them for 20 minutes? I'm going to be coming in hot. But we'll always make it by the end if we can. Always.
How do you move to a new town and find your support system? I mean, that's one of the things we talk about on the Coach's Wife Life podcast. It's hard to learn, find, and trust.
Oh, 100%. It very much so is. I think everywhere we've been has been super great. So, like, when we go and get hired on, they know we're moving further and further away from family. Every job we've taken has moved us further and further and further away from family. So a lot of them are like, here's a list of people that will babysit for you right now. I don't know if they can do any more than just a weekend. I don't know if they can do more, blah, blah, but here's this. And then our strength coach, his wife was great. And she reached out. She's like, you don't know me, but here are all the best doctors in town for your kids. Here's the best this, the best this, the best this. And oh, by the way, I have this girl that works for me that might be willing to nanny for you. So it was really cool to just have people, again, when you are at a place like this, that's just like, no, they understand the challenges that we're going to face and they want to help, has been really great. But we have somebody in the athletic department who is just near and dear to everybody's hearts, but she's just like, I'm going to pick your kids up and we're going to go to equestrian and we're going to ride horses. And I'm like, it's just so cool whenever they just want to jump in and help. It really is.
It is the Auburn family. I've always heard about it. I have some family members that graduated. They're probably listening right now going, where are you going? And I have a few outside my family went to the other school across the way, but
we won't hold it against them. We won't
speak of it.
No.
Okay. So the process to make big career decisions, are y'all pro and cons? Are you praying about it? What's your thing?
But if you're not praying about it, you ain't going to find the right answers. I don't care what anybody says. So we do like I think that's been the really cool thing is everything that has happened in our life. Like we have leaned on God for, we've had a lot of conversations together that are faith-based. But I think when that's at the core of it, you can't go wrong. Like you really can't go wrong. And you kind of get called to where you're supposed to be. And you're like, I don't know. I'm somebody who has a really hard time with change in that regard. Like, I'm like, we just got settled into our life at Tennessee and things are grooving and blah, blah, blah. Is this the right move? And like, when you pray about it, you're like, I don't know what it is that's calling me here, but it's the right move. And Chris, it's really cool when Chris and I can be like, we both felt X and this is where life's taking us. A lot of it is family based as well. We do a lot of pro and con from a work standpoint. Like, is the risk worth leaving X for? But our family is everything, and we have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, and we're like, the more like if we pick them up and move them, what does that do to them? And is that worth the risk? They're at an age right now where we're like, it's a good place. We've moved every 3 years since we've been married. Every 3 years we've picked up and moved, and not for, usually it's for better opportunities. The last three have definitely been for better opportunities. So I think that now we're like, this last one, we're like, it is a good time to go while they're still a little bit younger, because the older they get, the harder it gets. But they do understand our jobs, and they're kind of like military kids. They just pick up and go where we go. And family is wherever, like home is wherever your family is. So we're navigating it, but we definitely take our kids into consideration quite a bit.
What's a day in the life for you? What time do you get up? You like crazy early person?
Okay, so I used to be. So whenever, when we were, like I said, I had a lot of balance in Knoxville. I had it figured out. I was like grooving. I was a 5 a.m. workouter. I'd get up and I'd do stuff for the kids, and then I'd go blah, 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 blah. That hasn't happened in a hot minute. So right now I'm living on skinny pop and a prayer, I think. Um, But I'll get up our kids to get them to school. Like, so I'll get up about 6:15, get the kids up at 6:30 to get them rolling and out the door. And I'll admit it, I should go work out at that moment, because that is what centers me. Like, that's my time. Like, working out is my time. And I'm like, right now, that's not what my time is going to. Because there are a lot of hats as a head coach that you have to navigate, especially it's my first time as a head coach. It's not Chris's, but it's mine. So I'll usually get in and I'll just get into the office, and I'll usually have 2 or 3 meetings or calls that I need to get on starting at 8 a.m. So the kids are dropped off at 7:45, and I'm on some call by 8 most days. And then we'll be in the office and probably have a staff meeting of some sort, or some sort of external meeting that we have to go to. I had to go, usually Chipotle, DoorDash is like the best gift anybody can give us, because we DoorDash a lot. And then we'll start working in the afternoon. Kids will start coming in and trickling in and working, and we'll have practice. And then 5 o'clock, 5:30 hits, and we're usually sprinting off to gymnastics or for Ellie, or baseball for Ellie or Gabe. Whatever the sport we're in, we're sprinting off to that. Dinner of some sort together. Like I said, usually we try and all 4 get together, but if we can't, I'll take one, Chris will take the other, and we'll do that. And it's just a lot of rinse and repeat, get them to bed and go. But like I said, we make time to get up and pray. We make time to get up. And like I said, before I go to bed, I read something. Podcasting on the way to work is kind of one of those deals. But a lot of it, we enjoy who we work with. And so getting in here and getting this thing off the ground makes things a lot easier in the future years. So right now we're just putting our head down and grinding a lot. But like today, there was no schedule. I was on a plane. I just got back from Atlanta. So you just never know.
And I'm so grateful you did this podcast. Your schedule sounds insane, wild.
But it's so great. Like, it is. And it's so awesome that you create opportunities like this, because this is actually one of the best parts of my day. Like, going to practice is the best part of the day, but this is like so cool to be able to do. So I appreciate that.
Well, I look at softball, and everyone knows, because I'm talking on the podcast now about my own daughter. Hello, it's my podcast. But anyway, she plays travel softball, and it's so fun, and it's incredible. But to me, the dynamics of coaching softball would be different than the dynamics of coaching football. We're very involved with the players' lives. We have them over to eat and everything. But to me, and maybe I'm wrong, and you'll be like, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. But to me, it would be very connected. To me, softball, women want to talk all the time, or maybe it's not. Do you think that would be different to coach? I mean, football versus softball. Do you think they talk to you more? Do you think that there's more integration in your life maybe than the football side, or not? I mean, what's your take on that?
I think it's just, that's a really good question that I just, outside of our little bubble of softball, I probably don't know enough about. But I do think it doesn't matter. I think if you're not connected to the kids, especially this day and age in athletics, like, that part is vital. And we are people that want to, like, we're developers. And I'm like, people aren't going to trust us if that's not at the forefront at the end of the day. And you want to, like, if they don't leave here better people and better versions of themselves, we've done it wrong. So I think that part, and we do get to spend a lot of time with them. You only have X amount of weekends to go compete. with football, we are on the road constantly with them, and we play 56 games in a regular season. And so there are bus trips and flights and all these things that kind of go on. Now, by no means am I'll admit I'm not doing it perfect. I think there are things that, like in this first year, like we pride ourselves on the relationships that we build. And I think as we go in the season and life gets crazy and all those things, it's like you got to step back and be like, wow, like they are struggling with all these things that maybe I didn't consider in the heat of the moment, in that exact moment. And I'm like, I have to step back and I have to go apologize, or I have to go back and step back and ask them, like what's going on? Like what's going on in your life? So I do think it's really cool that we have that connection. I think they gravitate to the kids. So we get to have them, like we had them over for Easter, and all those good things. But I guess I think athletics is just, that's the direction it's heading, and it's a really cool direction to go.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so most of the listeners are spouses of coaches on the podcast.
Yep.
You've been around this your whole life, and you guys have spouses in your staff. So how can someone who's not coaching help you build culture?
I think the more that they can be, like, for us, culture is like, it's family. If that's something that's vital to you, is family and instilling your values, having the people around be around. So like even my mom will come and watch the kids, but my mom will come down and she like invests in all the players and knows them and all those kind of things. When they get to know, when your people get to know the team, that's when they're like, okay, they really do care about me. They really do care about me. And I think having an outlet, I think as a coach, you're like, I'm not going to go complain to anybody. I'm not going to go do any of these things. But having a sounding board, Chris and I can't be each other's sounding board sometimes, because sometimes I'll set him totally off, and vice versa, and not even mean to. But like as a spouse, if we could, like, finding somebody that your sounding board, like if you can be that person that is like, I'm judgment free. I'm still supporting you. I support the overall, but I can be your devil's advocate at the same time. It's just invaluable. It's invaluable.
That is brilliant. No one, I don't think, has ever said that on the podcast. That's good stuff.
Ooh, winning.
Okay. Two more questions, and I know you've got a lot to go on. How do you block out negativity on social media? Like how do you block out some of the stuff when you got to be on it for recruiting constantly? How do you just?
Well, I think we talk about it a lot. Like the people in your circle are the only ones that really get a say in what happens or what should be said. And I know that a lot of people look at it that way. But so I will just scroll past it, because I'm like, whatever is said on there, good or bad, nothing is ever as good or as bad as anybody says that it is, first and foremost. And I'm like, okay, but if there's something that's really good out there, I'm gonna get humbled tomorrow. And if something happened that was really bad in a game, I'm like, well, they have no idea the amount of time that went into it, what those kids were trying to do. I'm like, they weren't trying to strike out. They weren't trying to just throw balls constantly. Like that's not what they were trying to do, and that's what we weren't calling. So like, you armchair quarterback don't get a say. Unless you're supporting our team. If you're supporting our team, like that builds momentum. But the negativity, we just don't look at it like legitimately, because we know that if it's good, it's gonna come back. You can't get in the good or the bad, because then you don't get focused on what you actually need to be focused on.
Well stated. Most rewarding aspect to you about being a coach?
Whenever they walk away, I'm gonna get emotional, damn it. But so it's senior weekend this weekend for us, and like you hear some of these kids' stories, and like you said, some of them come from this, like a scholarship might be their way to get a degree, or like they've lived, like their families have just these really, really, really cool stories. Then get to that, like you see them get to the pinnacle of it, and you're like, you are better because of this place and what you've poured in, and you got to be a small part of the journey. Like they did it, like on their, like they're the ones that decided, I'm going to go do this and I'm going to buy in, I'm going to go. So the credit goes entirely to them. But when you're like, I got to be a small part of somebody's life and hopefully impact it in a really, really cool way. Like it doesn't get much better than that. It really doesn't. The wins are great, that like all that stuff. But like I will never forget the first time I heard them sing on the bus, and I'm like, so help me God. Some of you can carry a tune and some of you sound like you're under the bus. I don't know. But like those are the things you're like, you are just cool humans. And I hope that we get invited to your wedding. Like we've been to a lot of weddings lately. Like that's what it's about. Like it is like as a coach, when you're like, you are a really cool human being. It's just fun.
Rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Who's the most famous person in your phone?
I'm the most boring person you'll ever meet. So I'm sure that there is some MLB guy in there somewhere that I talk to, but I can't tell you who it is.
What's one item on your bucket list that you've checked off and one left to check off?
One of my bucket list items was find something I'm passionate about. And I did. It's here. And then I do want to run a marathon. I've run a half, but I haven't run a full.
Oh, nice. Last 3 people you have texted.
Our nanny about picking up the kids today, our pitching coach, and my husband to go pick up the DoorDash that's downstairs.
Good stuff. Okay, funniest account you follow on Instagram.
Okay, I'm not really on Instagram, to be honest with you. I do it a lot for getting ideas and like following like people that are really good at their jobs and recruiting. And so I should, but I'm like those rabbit hole people. If I go down and I'm in a bind.
What about your life impresses your kids the most?
I think that like we know Bruce Pearl and that like Bruce Pearl will hang out with them. I think they think that's really cool. But they also think, they told me one day, they're like, you're famous. And I'm like, we are so not famous. And they're like, no, you're famous. And that makes us famous. And I'm like, don't be like that.
Okay, what would be your walk-up song right now? Because you played. Would it
I
be
did.
the same one?
Oh, it's definitely not.
That's the same one. Okay, what would be your
No,
walk-up song?
definitely not. Believe it or not, this is gonna sound crazy. Coming Undone by Korn. Like I like something that hits a little hard. It's a little edgy. Yeah.
You are so fun. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. We're all going to follow you and cheer you on there at Auburn.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me, and War Eagle.
This podcast is brought to you by Ruler of Hope. Ruler of Hope is a nonprofit that supports medically fragile children. If you'd like to make a tax-deductible donation, you can use Venmo at Ruler-Hope or online at rulerofhope.org.
For a replay of this episode or previous episodes, visit coacheswifelife.org and follow us on social media at Coaches Wife Life.